So looking at the Gemara now, a Mishnah Gemara Chaf up on the base. All right. So the Mishnah says, Shofar shel Rosh Hashanah shel Yael Pashut, upiv mitzupa zahav, ushtei chatzotros minatzdaden. So what shofar do you use in Rosh Hashanah? A Yael that is what? Straight. Okay, straight. Mm-hmm. Straight. Okay. Then later on in the Mishnah, okay, fine. Then you have the difference in so far as shiurim, how long each kol is, and then the second part of the Mishnah is what? It says, like for instance, on Tainus you use zecharim kefufin. All right. So the Mishnah is targeting one difference between these horns. One is straight and one is bent. Okay. Question is, well, what question would you ask on that? Who cares? Okay. And that's the easy question. That's like you just hit a single. That's a single question. I want the home run question.
What's the difference between the two?
No, that's the same thing.
No, yeah.
Right, we're going to get to that. But there's an even... You'll see in the next Gemara also...
What is the meaning of straight shofar? What does it signify? And what's the meaning of...
Well, right, but that's all part of the first question. There's a deeper question that's going... That should trouble you. That's going on here.
What does this have to do?
The key to this whole thing... Well, first of all, the first part of the Gemara is important. You'll see soon, halachically. Amrav Levi, mitzvah shel Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippur, b'kfufin. Okay, v'shal kol Hashanah b'pshutin. So Rav Levi says what? What kind of shofar do you use for Rosh Hashanah? What kind of shofar? Bent. Okay. What does mitzvah mean?
So if you think the mitzvah has to do with the kol, not the shofar.
And so the critical question here, although you did jump the gun, Yaakov, but the critical question here is, it's not just what the difference is between Pashut and Kafaf. The deeper question is, what do these features have to do in any way, shape, or form with Lishma Kol Shofar? The mitzvah of Shofar is to hear it. So what do we care if it's bent, straight? Who cares? Okay? So if you look at the end of the Gemara, I know I made you guys read all of it, but if you look at the end of the Gemara ultimately says, so Rav Levi is obviously holding against Tanakam in the Mishnah. Because Tanakam in the Mishnah says the Shofar of Rosh Hashanah is a straight Shofar, and Rav Levi says it's a bent one. Right? So that's a Machlokes. So the Gemara says, if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the bottom, Chafaf on the base, B'mai kamiflagi, Mar Savar, B'Rosh Hashanah, Kama de Kayif Inish Daite, Tfei Ma'ale. Okay? Of Yom Kippurim, Kama de Pashit Inish Daite, Tfei Ma'ale. Umar Savar, Rosh Hashanah, Kama de Pashit Inish Daite, Tfei Ma'ale. Ubutanios, Kama de Kayif Inish Daite, Tfei Ma'ale. Everyone get that?
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, but forgetting the words for... Well, no, forget just those specific words. Forget the words for a second. What's the clear thing you see in what I just read? How many principles are we dealing with? He says, there's the Machlokes. One side holds Rosh Hashanah is A, right? And Yom Kippur is B.
Yeah, well, Yom Kippur.
That's a good question. But what does the other side hold?
Rosh Hashanah and...
Rosh Hashanah is what? Is...
A.
No,
B.
Is B, and Yom Kippur is A. So there's two principles.
Just Yom Kippur is just tiny.
Tiny, I know it's true. There's a little star over there, and if you look at the Bach, he he plays around with that. Yeah. Okay. But the real question is though is that so there's two principles here. There's Kayif and there's Pashut. So what kind of Machlokes is this? Now comes Rashi. Take a look at Rashi. Kama de Kayif Inish, right? So he says B'tfilaso Panav Kvushin La'aretz Tfei Adif. Right? So when he's davening, right, on Rosh Hashanah, all right, let's just take the first position. On Rosh Hashanah, when you're davening, so how do you daven? You daven with your bent over, your face to the ground. You basically as like you're bent, you're all what's the word I'm looking for?
Humbling yourself?
No, physically. You're all like scrunched. Hunched, right. That's what hunched. You're hunched over during Rosh Hashanah. Okay? Because it says, Mishum v'hayu eini v'libi sham. Okay? Hilkach Rosh Hashanah. Okay? Dilit fila. Ulahazkir Akedas Yitzchak. Hold off on that. Why is mentioning Akedas Yitzchak? It's going to come back soon. Alright? Ba'inan kfufin. Alright? So that's why, because Rosh Hashanah did tefillah, and to remember that Akedas Yitzchak, that's why the shofar should be bent. So let's skip to the next Rashi. Kama de Pashit Tfei Adif. Mishum nasa levavenu el kapayim. Okay? Which means that we turn our hearts up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to God. Meaning that we stand. We stand before God. Pashut means what?
Straight.
Stand straight. Right? Hilkach Rosh Hashanah b'pshutin dilot filahu. Okay? Now I don't want to deal with Yom Kippur. That's a separate question. I just want to know in general. Okay? Rashi's telling you something fascinating here. So I think you asked before, what kind of machlokes is this? What's the machlokes to say kafir versus pasha? What is that machlokes? The first step you're going to have to make is that clearly, we're going to go deeper than that, but and it's based on the idea of the Rav, but clearly kafir implies, Moshe, you're right, implies some sort of humbling, state, whereas pasha implies, as you're saying, Johnny, you're correct, standing before the king.
I'm just saying.
Rashi's not saying that you need to be bent over versus stand up straight for Rosh Hashanah. That idea of man being bent over is expressed in the shofar, right? It's not you being bent over. Whatever being bent over represents is expressed in the surah of the shofar. Okay, that's the expression of that idea. But the question is, what's the idea of man being bent over? There's a universal idea by tefillah. It is the answer to this machlokas. So the Rav wanted to say this. The Rav wanted to say that you see, there's a tension that exists in tefillah, insofar as, on the one hand, because we're offer of Efer, so we have who are we to stand before God? How can we possibly manis onen and manadaber? What can we possibly do? How can we possibly stand before God in a state of tefillah? It's like an absurd concept to say that we are standing before the being who created us. We are a created being. We're no different than animals in that sense. We all share in common the notion of being created. So who are we to stand before God? So that's kafaf. Kafaf, you're bent over, meaning that I recognize that who am I to stand before God? I'm nothing. That's one end. But then, as Johnny put it, on the other hand, like you said, that's how you stand before a king. But what's that idea? The idea is that, on the other hand, we have a tzem elokim. And we are, on one part of us is no different than animals, but the other part is very much different than animals. And because of a tzem elokim, that differentiation gives us the right to stand before God. So that's pasha. You stand before the king because you have the right to stand before the king. Because of the fact that we have a tzem elokim. That idea that separates man from the animals, it gives us that right to do it. And that's a tension that exists. Okay, it's not like there's a question. The machlokes are having is, then I don't want it to find that that's a separate machlokes. So machlokes is which idea is highlighted on which holiday. Does Rosh Hashanah highlight the notion of kafir, whereas Yom Kippur highlights the right, or is it the opposite? And you can think about that. There's reasons to say both. But what's the main idea there? The main idea is that tefillah represents this conundrum, where on the one hand you have to recognize that as a created being you really have no right to stand before God from that aspect of it, but on the other hand, as a human being, you do have some right to stand before God for the fact you have a tzam elokim. So that's the tension that exists. Okay, that's all you need to do insofar as to find that machlokas. But what's it indicating now? I'm pointing at you, Yaakov. What's it indicating? And we are still somewhat hashkafically now. We're going to get to the halach in a second, but I think you're right. In other words, the idea of the shofar is that it's true the kol shofar represents the end of man's verbalization, but you see as well, what is a shofar? It's a vehicle of tefillah. The shofar itself is a vehicle of tefillah, not just the kol, but the shofar itself, the entity. We saw that by the fact that you associate it with the par, right? And now we're going further than that. We're saying that even the shape of it, right? That such an idea evokes a certain concept of tefillah. So when you see the shape of the shofar, what do? When you see the shape of the shofar, it brings to mind a certain idea, a certain reality of tefillah. It says, Amar Rabbi Abau, Lama token, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines on the bottom, Tezayin Amalaf in Rosh Hashanah. Amar Rabbi Abau, Lama token b'shofar sha'ayil. So why do we use a ram? Now, notice, what word is missing here? Kafuf. Okay, no mention of kafuf or pashut. Alright? Why do we use a ram, the horn of a ram? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Taku l'fanai b'shofar sha'ayil. You should blow a shofar of a ram before me. Why? Kadesha ezkor lachem akedas Yitzchak ben Avram. So that therefore I can remember the Akedah. Okay? Umali, now this is a very deep idea which I'm not so much into getting into right now. Okay? Umale ani alechem ki'ilu akatem atzvechem lefanai.
So now it is charming.
What?
Now it is charming.
Oh, Baruch Hashem. Alright, so umale ani alechem ki'ilu akatem atzvechem lefanai. What does that mean? What does that mean? Take a shot at that?
Like
Tomorrow.
it's gone.
Yeah.
To do. Definitely not the shape.
It's not the shape, so what is it then? It can't be the shape.
The association is made by.
Right, but through what? The
way you should think.
Ramban says, he says like this. He says, okay, so he says, Haditnan, Shofar Rosh Hashanah Shayal Pashat. Okay, Now Pashat not Pashat like, not Pashat like straight, simple. Okay. Shelo chilku al Mishnah Rishona, right? She'amar kol shofar ksherin. So what immediately is bugging the Ramban? Don't think that this Mishnah is arguing on the previous Mishnah. It's not saying that, because the first Mishnah said kol shofaros, and the second Mishnah said what? Shel yael. So what would you think?
Only Ya'al.
Only yael. But that would be arguing with the first Mishnah. He says no, don't think that, right? Ella bilichatchila nechlaku le'yudin rabbanon. Right. V'zeu sh'amar Rav Levi mitzvah shel Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippur b'kfufin aval di'eved yatsa b'pshutin. Okay. So what does Rav Levi say? Rav Levi is saying that lechatchila you should use kfufin, but of course Rav Levi would admit you're yotzei if you use a straight shofar. V'hutzrachti lichtov zeh, and the Ramban says I had to write this. Why? B'nei shira'isi echad min ha'mechabrim sheta b'davar, because I saw one of the authors make a mistake in this matter. Who was that author?
Rambam.
The Rambam. It's the only way of saying that, right? I saw someone make a mistake when he wrote this, okay? Okay, so this is what I was trying to drive at. Okay, so what is, now comes, this is the factual answer, but this is what's going to lead us into understanding what the Machlokes is. So, if you look at the Magnish, there's Kol Shofar Psulin, Shama Mishnah, and then he quotes the different Gemaras. Kol Shofar Karen, Chus Mishal Para, Neishu Karen, Amar Rav Yossi, V'lo Kol Shofar Nikru Karen, etc. Then he says Shofar Rosh Hashanah Shayal Pashat, etc. And then he adds Rav Yud Omer, Rosh Hashanah Tokim Shos Charam, V'lo Shal Yalan. Fine. So obviously the Rambam was aware of all the Gemaras, right? Okay. The Sover Rabbeinu, Rambam must have held Kedas Ksas Meforshim, like some of the Pirushim. The Rambam. Yeah. Maybe it always means the Rambam. Right? Shesovrin, that they hold, Dikula Masnisin Le'ikuva Isnaya. Okay? That all of these Mishnahs are in fact what? Are in fact what?
Being naked.
Arguing. Okay? Okay. Right? Upluktahi, it's an argument. The Tanakama machshir kol shofar sachalul and chutz mishal para. Rav Yossi machshir afilu mishal para. It's a machlokes about, for instance, whether Tanakama says all hollow shofars are good except for the par, whereas Rav Yossi, is machshir even the par. All and basically reads every single thing like that. All these mishras and gemaras are really arguments. They're not lechachila b'diavad. They're arguments. They're machlokesim. So what's the Rambam therefore doing?
Choosing a side.
Paskening. He's paskening like one of those gemaras. Okay, that's a nice question so far as why the Rambam had the right to do that. That's a separate question. But the main point on a factual level is how do you sneak out of the issue? Very simple. Ramban holds that the other Mishnahs and Gemaras are suggestions. The Rambam holds what?
Arguments.
No, they're arguments, and therefore he's got to pick something. So therefore it would be ma'akev. You can only use this kind of shofar. Kafuf, keves. That's how he paskins, because the Gemaras are arguing with each other. Okay? So what's the machlokes between the Rambam and the Ramban? That's all you need to know about how you have an idea of, you have the kol shofar, which would seem to be the essence of a shofar. And that's clear, right? What's the essence? It's the kol. But these Gemaras introduce something else, which is that the kol shofar is the essential idea, but ultimately the whole shofar thing, both kol and entity, are a vehicle of tefillah. Right? Yeah. So what are the Rabbanan coming along and doing here? It's very funny what Chazal are doing. Even according to the Rambam, just starting before you get to Rambam and Ramban, what are they doing?
Says that
if you just said the Torah, what would you say?
The kol matches.
That's it.
Just take some horn.
And blow and make a sound, right? Kol. That's what the Torah says. So what are Rabbanan doing then?
Rabbanan.
Yeah.
Saying no.
They're adding on characteristics.
So this is the brilliance of what this machlokas hinges on. Okay, in my opinion, Rabbanan could never do what? What couldn't they do?
Mitigate the role of the kol.
Right. They can never adjust the call. That they can't do. That's impossible. But what can they do?
Add on
Change the
features.
shofar.
They can tinker with the chefsa. They can tinker with the chefsa. That they can do. They can say, you know what? There's additional ideas we want expressed in the experience of shofar. That they have the right to do. They can never go ahead and say, you know what? Well, we're going to use the call, the sound, and we're going to modify in some way to get some sort of other idea across. They can't do that. They have no right to. But what they can do, though, is they can play around with chefsa, the actual entity of the physical shofar, and that's what's expressed in these machlokes or whatever, these different points.
Why are they doing that?
Oh, because
Why do they feel need to?
because they realize that there's more ideas. Now think about it. There's more ideas about what that are expressed about tefillah.
Right.
They want more. They want additional concepts of tefillah to be expressed in the shofar experience. Not that I'm going to be careful. Not that the kohl's insufficient, but they saw like bonus time. They see like bonus wise, we can
already implicit in the shofar, or they're
If you just said the kol shofar, you can't say you're lacking something. But the question is, can you create? You got to understand, the things they're adding, right, have nothing to do with the mitzvah of kol shofar. You understand that? There's nothing that what they're doing that has anything to do with the mitzvah kol shofar. What? Well, hold on. But let's try to get that point clear. There's nothing that Chazal did in the idea of the ayil and the idea of pasha kafaf that has anything to do with the kol. Nothing. All they're doing is what? Right, because why? Because they're recognizing there's other ideas of tefillah that can be expressed through the thing itself, not just through the kol. Right? The kol is one concept, but they're coming in and superimposing other ideas, but they can, because they're not affecting the kol. Okay, so now, if that's the case, so now what's the machlokes? Based on what you were saying before. Now that you have the essential idea of kol shofar, and you also have these Rabbanon additions that affect the chesed of the shofar, what's the machlokes? I just want to, do you understand why I went back a step and then got to this point? Do you see that why? Okay. In other words, before you. So, because the thing is like this, because maybe the answer will give it away, like when to see the Svarat Machlokes. But the reason why I'm taking that step is because to see the real difference between the Rambam and the Ramban, you have to appreciate the fact that what you really have here are two phenomena. You have the kol shofar, which is one idea, and then you have this other idea, Rabbanan coming along and modifying modifying the actual chefsa itself.
So is the Rambam saying that both have to be defined?
Meaning what? So therefore, so what's a shofar then, according to him? What's a shofar? What is a shofar?
Shofar is halachically a shofar has to be the kol, so that can be achieved through whatever. But it also has to be from a keves. It has to be bent.
Right. So what's? How does he look at a shofar versus a Ramban? You're getting there. You're getting there. It's a beautiful logical hakira. What?
Like a complete conceptual idea.
Okay, good. The key thing is the complete part. You're right about that.
Right. It's like an
It
entire
has to like combine all of these ideas within it. It can't just be like the Ramban would say like, no, it can have this, it can have that, as long as like kol is achieved.
So just
all the others are just like almost hidur.
Right. So what is a shofar? So good. So now, just to take what you're saying and just sum it up, the machlokes is a beautiful machlokes. The machlokes is, what is a shofar? Is a shofar, again, two ideas, the kol and the Rabbanon additions to the object itself. Is a shofar composite, or is it one entity with kiyumim? That's the machlokes. Okay? Is it a composite? It's there for the kol, that right? But there are certain things Rabbanon added to it. There are additional features, or no? The Rambam says that's not what happened. That's what it means by it's ma'akev. That's what the Magi Mishnah is trying to get across. The Rambam held that it's one entity, and in the entity, just like a lot of other entities, there's certain kiyumim. Like for instance, you have let's say by hadassim, right, or esrogim, or things like that. I know it's convenient, right? Apropos, there's certain hidurim that are in the very thing itself. In other words, if you got a nicer lulav, right, or more, like the Rambam says, is noi, if you have more hadassim, right? Those are hidurim in the thing.
Right. That's why the Yemenites just have like
a huge bundle, right? Although, okay, is it clear what the machlokes with Rambam and Ramban is? This whole sugya was just to get to that point. That's the Rambam. The Rambam shofar is an entity, right, that has certain. The entity has requirements, right? The shofar is one entity that needs to be a certain type of animal and bent. So he combines the two notions together, the two mitzvahs, the idea that the Rabbanan stuff and the Deraisa into one entity. Whereas Ramban says no, it's composite. Okay, let's just do halacha l'maisa so we do this in a consistent way. Take a look at the tour on the new page. Tour. Anyone? Tour?
What page is this?
It's on this thing here.
I never got that one.
Here, what does the Torah say? The Torah says, he says, Shofar haroi liskoaba, ketzad. So what shofar which is roi, is appropriate to use on Rosh Hashanah? Sheyesh shel ayil v'kafaf. So it has to be a ram and bent. Okay? Rabbi Abo. Oh, we'll see. Hold on. Lama token b'shofar shel ayil. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu takol lefanei b'shofar shel ayil k'dei she'ez kol lechem akadosh Yitzchak umalin elechem ki lo katem atzvachem lefanei. Right? V'kafaf to Amar of Levi mitzvah shofar shel Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur b'kafaf. Okay? V'yisav Yerushalmi k'dei she'kafu liba mitfilah. So okay. So what does he say at this point? What are the two qualifications that shofar needs? Right? It should be bent and ram. Okay? Sounds like the Rambam. Aval v'dafka l'chachila. But all this is ideally. Okay? Aval b'diavad. Oh, she'ein lo ayil v'kafuf yotzei b'shar minin upashat chutz b'shar para. So it doesn't matter. So if you have an ayil, it's kafuf, it's pashat, it's okay. Okay? Right, like the Ramban. Okay? It's non kol shofar kerem chutz b'shar para. Okay, now listen to this. Nimsa she shlosha chilukim shal para. Puzzle. Afilu b'diavad. Because of Ramban. V'huwa din b'karnei robachayo shem etzem echad. V'ein shmam b'lashana kodesh shofar. Shenikra shofar el makanai machalulim. Etc. 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 So what's the upshot? What does he hold?
Ramban.
He holds like the Ramban, right? Now let me ask you a question. Okay. Here's one last chiluk to make. This is a real stumper. Okay. Ultimately, the Torah concludes based on the Ramban. Of the two qualifications, okay, of the two qualifications are kafa versus ayil. Which one's primary? He uses two words. By the ayil, he says mitzvah and mufkar. By kafa, he says l'chachila. All right, why is that problematic? I want to take a shot at that. Why is that problematic?
So bent is more important?
No, ayil is more important. Why? Why would you think ayil is better or more primary? Mitzvah and mufkar is ayil. The chachila is bent. Why is ayil better? If you put a gun to the Ramban's head and said, "Listen, you have a choice. It's either going to be a ram or bent. What's he going to go with?"
Ben.
No, the ram.
Ram.
Yeah. Why?
That's the Zecher Tekiyos Yitzchak.
Okay. What about kafaf? Kafaf is an important idea too, isn't it?
Kafaf is
Who are we to stand for Kadosh Baruch Hu? So this question, the first part you're 100% right about. The ayil is primary because that is the theme of the day. You see Tekiyos Yitzchak over and over again in the theme of the day. So that directly ties you to Rosh Hashanah. Kafaf is a general idea in tefillah. Kafaf is not limited to just Rosh Hashanah. It's a general idea in tefillah. So the reason why ayil is mitzvah and mufkar, whereas kafaf is l'chachila, ayil really reflects the very specific theme of the day. Kafaf is more of a generic idea in tefillah, in general. So that's why he says mitzvah and mufkar is ayil, because that'll hit home as far as his day is concerned. Whereas kafaf is more of a general idea and how a person is supposed to be when it comes to being mispala.
Yeah, that's what I.
Okay, so now that we've established what a shofar is, what else do we have to establish?
The call.
The kol. Okay. Yeah. Now this is if you like math, you'll like this.
Are you dealing with pi?
What? No pi. Not geometry. More like just keeping numbers in mind. Well, yeah, if you like numbers, you'll like this. Okay. Let's just get our facts before. This is so easy because it's just one. Well, I should say easy. It's one line in the Mishnah. You don't have to do any Gemara. It's all the Ran. Okay, all the Ran. All right.
Wow.
You're not gonna do the whole thing. Don't worry. But we'll take you step by step. All right. How?
Oh, is this the number of blasts?
Give me an example. Tell me how many sets of give me an example of a set of shofar blasts.
Kia.
Tia, trua, tkiya. Okay, so you have tkiya, right, and then a trua, and then it's tkiya. Now, what comes after that? Let's say, for example. Fine. So okay, fine. I don't care how we do it today. Fine. So then that's one set, and then what's the following set? Tkiya. Let's say also tkiya, trua, tkiya. Right? Okay. How long does a tkiya have to be? Approximately. Make up a number to make it easy. Let's say 5 seconds. No, not 10. Let's say 5 seconds. We're going to use 5, and we're going to use that number the entire time because it's a lot easier to work in fives.
10.
Why? So we're going to make up a number. We're going to say that the length of a tkiya has to be 10 seconds. Okay, so what's a shear of a tkiya? 10 seconds. Now take a look at the top line there. Taka barishona. Okay, what does that mean?
It's the first blast.
The first, which blast?
Kia.
First tekiya of the set. So now let's just hypothetically say where I'm doing my Tekiya, Shvarm, Trua, Tekiya set. My first Tekiya, I blow. How long is my Tekiya? 10 seconds. Umashach b'shniya kishtayim. And I'm a smart guy. What do? I blow, okay, the last Tekiya of the set. How long? 20 seconds. Okay? Why did I do that?
You are a masochist.
You know.
2 and 1.
Because what are you doing the next? I did a 20-second Tekiya, and what am I doing it for? The first 10 seconds for the last Tekiya of the first set,
okay.
And then the Tekiya for the second set. Okay? Ein biyado ela achas. He only has
Why
one.
do you even think that it could...
Why would you ever think that it could be
Because it goes by time.
2? What do you mean it goes by time?
It goes by how.
I just get so much enjoyment out of it. Okay, so now, yeah, that was a good line. He's not a masochist. But anyway, okay, so Taka Barishona, okay, starting with the Ran, right? So he says, Bipshuta Shelifnei Trua. So what's the first one? Right, the first Tekiya you do in the sets, right? Umashach Bishniya, B'Tekiya Shela Achar Hatrua. So the end of the first set, the last Tekiya, he blows 20 seconds. Why? He's a smart guy. He says, you know what? I'll blow one sound.
2 birds, 1 stone.
2 birds, 1 stone. Blow one sound, and in doing so, I've now fulfilled the Tekiya of the first set, right? The last Tekiya, and I've now also done the Tekiya of the second set, right? Yay me. Okay.
Nice job.
Laziness.
Ein biyado ela achas. Okay. And Mivashinan b'Gemara Taima. All right. The Gemara explains the reason why. Now it's interesting. It's not the Gemara where this Mishnah is based on. It's on a different Gemara. But the Gemara says like this. The Gemara says Mishum de psuke tekiyasem hadadi lo mifaskinan. Okay. Everyone should know what that means because why? Again, you guys all said it before. All right. Why would you think? Even if I had the intention of blowing 2 kolos, I've only blown 1.
Because you only heard one.
You only heard 1. What do you require to differentiate one tekiya from another?
Stop.
Break.
A break, right? There's a Gemara. There is no real havamina at this point to say that you could ever think you'd be yotzei 2 tekiyas for the price of 1.
Right, you need distinction.
You need a distinction. Of course, you wouldn't need that with what?
You only need what?
You would not need that with what? Let's say like a trua. Of course, you couldn't do 2 truas in a row, but I'm saying the sounds distinguish one from the other. But how do you know one tekiya from another tekiya if you're blowing a 20-second tekiya?
You don't know.
Okay.
You don't.
So then he says that this, and
Only
this,
the guy that's blowing it would know, because in his mind...
it's irrelevant though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Irrelevant.
well, he would...
Oh, you think that? You'll see.
But it's
Not so fast, my friend. Not so clear.
Slow it down.
You'll see. That very possibility is raised. So then the Ran says, he says like this. He says, "Umiu dafka b'tekiyos shehein kol echad." So you need this hefsek only by tekiyos. Why? Because the tekiya is
Continue.
1 sound. Aval asa tekiya v'shvarim utrua. Now here's the thing. Here's a key thing. Let's say I blew a tekiya, a shvarim, and a trua b'neficha achas yatsa. What does neficha achas means? 1 breath. So what do? That's masochistic, right? I get up there and I blow.
That's different.
Tekiya, shvarim, trua, right? As 1 in 1 breath.
But there's differentiation
Yeah, I was
between
gonna
them.
say.
Hold on. So he says, Sharehein kolos mufrashin, okay? Because the kolos are different, right? And then he says, Ukvar nikar bein tekiya l'shvarim. And it's clear, you can see the difference, you can hear the difference, so to speak, between the tekiya and the shvarim. You can hear it. I hear a doot, and then I hear a doot, doot, doot. I hear the difference. So he says, V'haynu dergasina v'Yerushalmi, and we see the Gemara Yerushalmi says, Taka v'heriya v'taka b'neficha achas yatsa. And the Yerushalmi says that if I go ahead and I blow in 1 breath the entire set, I'm yotzei. Okay, 1 second. V'ha anan tanan shalosh. But 1 second. How many kolos do you need to be yotzei? Your 3 sets.
3.
3 of 3. How many does that come out to?
9.
None.
Times
27.
3 is 27. And in the 3, in other words, the 9 blasts that you do is a total of 27 kolos. But if you do them all in 1 breath, do you have 27 kolos? No, you do.
Yep,
So he says, even though you haven't blown 27 kolos, but do you have 27 kolos?
Yeah,
Why?
because you could tell the difference.
Tell the difference. Oh, okay, but there's a havamina here. This is where your havamina is. The havamina, hold on. What's the havamina?
I'm thinking.
What's the havamina? Nu, what's the havamina? What's the havamina? What's the havamina? Factually, what's the havamina?
He's doing it on breath.
No, that's the maskana. Maskana is, I can do them all in one breath. What's the havamina?
That he's popped it.
No, not close. What's the havamina? Maskana saying,
So
I can blow...
If he does it,
Maskana saying that if I blow a Tekiyos shram towards Tekiyah in one breath, I'm Yotzei.
so if you do two Tekiyos in one, how?
Oh, forget that. No, the Havamina is very simple. Havamina would think that what? I require a breath per call. In other words, like this. I'll explain it differently. Why is it a problem? Right? What is the problem of blowing a 20-second Tekiyah? You would think the reason why it doesn't work is because each call requires what?
A breath.
Its own breath. You don't have that here. Kamash Malan, the reason why the 20-second Tekiyah is not good is because
No differentiation.
there's no differentiation in the call.
What do you actually think?
Define each side. Right! What's a call? A call is defined by the mice in the ficha. A guy has to do an action of producing a call. What's the action of producing a call? A breath. The breath is what produces the call. So one has to be distinguished from the other. Simple. What's the maskana saying?
Wait, is it that you
Just say the other side saying you don't need a mice in the ficha. Because I'm aware of
only
that.
need to be negative?
Okay, but Hamid is saying you need a mice and a ficha. So if I needed a mice and a ficha, if being a tokeya actually, if producing a call is actually a misa, so then, and that's the reason why a 20-second tekiya doesn't work, so then you got a big problem because you don't pass in that way. So the maskana is saying no, it doesn't go by mice and a ficha. Instead, what does it go by? It goes by what we say is like mamela. And there's it emerges, and as long as from the kol itself there's a differentiation, right? Then you're okay. I don't want to say the chafsa because I don't think the kol is a chafsa, but the sound itself naturally differentiates one from the other. It's coming from the sound itself. Then you have a differentiation. Does a tekiya have that? No, tekiya does not have that. So at this point in time, so the Ran, why is the Ran doing this? Because the Ran wants to isolate what is the problem of blowing a 20-second tekiya at the end of your first set. It can't be a problem of neficha achas. Instead, what is it a problem of?
Nice.
No, that's the ficha. It's a problem of the memela differentiation of kolos. Okay?
What's not my side?